you really cannot have good credit without good financial habits, without being financially responsible. There's no way. You can tell yourself all day, I want better credit, I want to get to this credit score. But if your actions don't reflect what you're saying, you'll be in a rat race forever. Welcome to the Golden Mentality. My name is Lex.
And I'm Rocky.
And we are the CEOs and co-founders of ADR Financial Group. For those of you who don't know who we are one of the best credit repair companies
in the game.
We actually got nominated as the best credit repair company in Charlotte, North Carolina for 2021. But we like to also consider ourselves as financial literacy coach, financial literacy expert, because we're all about building generational wealth, breaking generational curses through financial education.
Yes, sir.
So today's podcast is going to be about how to master your credit. So for those of you who are out there who don't have a solid understanding of how credit works, how credit repair works, how to leverage and build your credit, then this podcast is definitely for you.
Yes, it is.
All right, so let's jump right into it.
All right.
We're going to bring it back to the basics. Let's talk about the 5 factors of credit. Let's start there. Let's start slow and then speed it up.
All right, cool. All right, the 5 factors of credit, which makes up your credit scores, your credit report, is payment history. That's number 1. That is the biggest factor, 35% of your score. Number 2 is utilization. So pretty much how you go about managing your credit cards, right? And then number 3 is age of credit. That's how long you had your accounts. You're pretty much calculated off how long you had age, you know. And then 4, we got mix of credit, right? That's pretty much how you go about mixing up your credit profiles. And then we have 5, which would be new credit inquiries.
Yep. So the 5 factors of credit is what makes up your credit score, and that's just up the content that's on your credit profile. So we're going to break it down a little bit further. So the first factor, payment history, accountable for 35% of your credit score. Payment history is hands down the most important factor of your credit score. There's no way you can have a good credit score with missed payments, with poor payment history.
Yep.
Credit utilization is the second biggest factor, 30%. That is calculated by taking your balance divided by your credit limit. A lot of people like to say you want to keep it below 30%, but the sweet spot is actually
10%.
10%.
I was going to say 100%, 10%.
10%.
100% is 10%.
10%.
Under 10%, you are in a beautiful position.
Right. So it's actually the closer you get to 30%, the lower your scores will go. And then once you surpass that 30%, then you're in the red zone, right?
Exactly.
So the key to this, we like to give a tip off the rip, okay? If you are if you're going to max out your card or you're going to go over 30% of your limit, that's cool. But you want to pay it down by the statement date, not the due date. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, so every credit card, because that's what we're speaking about right now, they have a statement date and they have a due date, right? So on the statement date, that's the date that they report to the credit bureaus. So basically you can have let's say you had a statement date of on the 20th, right? 20th of every month. That's the date they report. They report all the information on your credit cards to the credit bureaus. If you had a high utilization all the way until the 19th, and you made your payment on the 19th, guess what? The information that's on your account at that particular time would then report to the credit bureaus, right? But if you were to wait until the 21st to make your payment, the information that's on your account at that particular time would then report to the credit bureaus, which would be the high credit limit. So the statement date is pretty much the date that they calculate your entire billing cycle. So basically, if whatever transactions you had from one period to another will be calculated all together, your total bill will be calculated, and that's the date that they will provide a statement, right, to you, and they'll send it to the credit bureaus, right? So you know exactly how much money you owe for that particular cycle period. Cycle periods are pretty much the time frame, again, is where you when you make payments. It's pretty much the time frame of your transactions, right? So if you want to be able to save interest, avoid having high utilization reported on your credit report, make your payments on your statement date instead of your due date. which is usually about 3 days, 2-3 days. Your statement date is usually about 2-3 days before your due date.
Exactly. So statement date versus due date, you can find your statement date on your billing statement, or you can just simply call in and ask when your statement date is. So followed by the statement date, not the due date. Okay. And then going to number 3, we have your mix of credit. Age of credit. I'm sorry. Number 3 is the age of credit. So how long have you had credit for? Really? So even if your oldest account is 2 years old, your average age of credit is not going to be 2 years old, unless that's your only account up there, because it's the total age of history divided by the total amount of the average age of history divided by the total number of accounts that you have. So 2 years, I would say, is a decent age, but the longer you have credit for, the more credit worthy you are. It's all about relationship building here, and especially if you had good credit. So a lot of times we want to touch on this. A lot of times people try to advance to get age of credit by purchasing trade lines. Right? So what's your take on purchasing trade lines?
Okay, first of all, we should talk about what a trade line is. For some of you that don't know, and there's different terms to the word trade line, right? So the actual factual term meaning of a trade line is just mean account, right? Account. Like an account in your credit report. That's all it means. But the slang word trade line is pretty much the purchase of an authorized user spot, right? When you got credit cards, you can actually add people to your credit card. And then by you adding them to your credit card, if that credit card is managed correctly, you can then increase their credit scores, because that account will report to whoever you're adding credit report, right? So a trade line, when you buy a trade line or purchase a trade line is like a credit booster, right? But it's not the one fix all situation. A lot of people hear trade line, that's all I need. I'm gonna just get me 2-3 trade lines, be good. Trade lines are like the cherry on the top. After you already baked your cake and you put the icing up there, the trade line is the cherry on the top. It's what's gonna push you over to a position where you like, yeah, now I'm feeling really good. I can go and apply what I want to apply for. But with trade lines, you cannot use them for everything, right? So trade lines are really good for credit cards. They're really good for auto loans, commercial loans, right? They're not good for mortgages. It is considered identity fraud not identity fraud, but
it's just illegal.
It's some type of fraud.
Yeah.
Make a long story short, it's illegal. But trade lines are dope. Trade lines are super dope when you know how to use them. But a trade line is pretty much an authorized user. That is all it is. But if you're buying it from somebody, that's what make it a trade line. You can actually ask your friends, your family, somebody, significant other, somebody you know who has a trade line, who has a credit card, and let's say they got the utilization low, under 10%. You know what I'm saying? No late payments. That account would then report to your credit report and boost your scores.
Yeah. It's probably the fastest way you could get an increase in your credit scores. But again, the trade lines is not the yellow brick road to good credit. It's just a tool that you can use to boost up your credit score, but it's only really effective if you have your own established credit. Nothing is more powerful than your own established credit. It's cool, like what Rocky said, for credit cards, stuff like that. It's like a automated approval. But if you're going to actually have a lender looking over your credit report and all you have is trade lines up there, you're really not going to, you have a low chance of getting approved because they know those are not your accounts. So
exactly.
Just be mindful of using trade lines. I mean, if you're going to get it if you're going to be added as an authorized user from a family or friend for free, of course, get it up there anytime. But if you're actually going to be spending money to purchase these trade lines, just be mindful of making sure that you're purchasing at the right time so your money's not going to waste.
What is considered a good trade line to you?
What do you mean? Like the age of history and
yeah. Well, what's considered, because people want to buy trade lines, right? But how do they know what trade lines to buy? What is considered a good trade line to you?
I mean, so the trade line value will depend. It will increase. The price depends on two main factors: history, how old it is, and also the limit, of course. So those are the two main factors. So the age of history will make it more costly over the limit, but it really just depends on the person's profile. Like if somebody has a lot of high limit credit cards on their credit report, but they're lacking age, then I would say focus on getting an aged trade line rather than a high limit trade line. Somebody's missing both, then of course you want to supplement both. So everybody's just case by case scenario. You know what they need, what they're missing on their credit report.
Exactly. So that I just wanted to ask you that question, because that's one thing I feel like a lot of people, when they hear trade lines, they don't even really know when it comes to trade lines what type of trade lines to get. They're like, hey, what you think I should get, Rock?
Yeah.
You know, but it's best for you to know, and you'll know that because it's your credit profile. Whatever your credit profile is missing is what you need.
And if you're missing history and credit limit, both. Then get both. But if it's just one or the other, just focus on the other. And also, I would say if you're purchasing a trade line, to make it less sketchy, because it is a loophole. It's not illegal, but it is a loophole. You want to start from the age of 18. Excuse me. So if you're 28, you don't want to get more than a 20. You don't want to get a 30-year trade line. If you're 28 and that's not your family or friends, you don't know the person. It's just a kind of a red flag. So start from when you're 18 and go from there. Yeah,
100%. I agree.
Okay, cool. So going to the next factor, that would be, we can talk about mix of credit.
Yeah.
So mix of credit means how diversified your credit profile is. So the more diversified your credit profile is, the more stronger your credit score will be, just because you have multiple different types of management of each account. The most powerful account you can get on your credit report is a mortgage loan.
Hands down.
Mortgage loan, hands down, the most powerful account you can get on your personal credit report. But mix of credit will be broken up into two things, either installment or revolving. Installment equals loans, so personal loans, car loans. And then revolving equals credit cards, whether that's a charge card, revolving card. So anything that reports utilization.
Checking line of credit as well.
Checking line of credit, exactly. So having these mix of credit is really good. But when you're building your credit, just focus on establishing credit. Don't worry, the diversified factor will come later down the line. Don't think you have to get each sector of account off the rip. Like, that's just, as time goes on, you know, you're going to eventually dip your hands into these and make sure that you're managing each sector responsibly, because it's going to build your credit worthiness in that sector. Like if I'm going to purchase a car loan, right? They don't care about my credit card history like that. They really care about my car history. So I need to make sure that each car relationship I have, I'm doing really well and try to work my way up, because you're really into exotic cars, really expensive cars. So you make sure that, you know, you get a good you get a good deal, and you always work your way up, because you can't come off with just $30,000 loan and then think you're going to get a $150,000 loan. You have to literally work your way up. And as soon as you mess up, it's like you got to start all over. You know, and that's just if you're into that. But that's just with any relationship. Like if you had credit cards and you're really wanting to leverage your credit cards or get higher limit credit cards, you got to make sure your prior history is really good, because that's what they're really care about.
You can't get the big boys if you ain't even done the small boys yet. It's a ladder. It's a stepping stool. You know, each card or each account builds on the next, and that's really what history is about. Right.
Okay, so you got your mix of credit. That's what that is, and then we go into new credit.
New credit is pretty much inquiries. To make a long story short, whenever you apply for something, you get an inquiry. Right. Want me to go into details even more?
Either you or me, baby.
Okay.
we can talk about this all day and night.
Yeah. So when it comes, I didn't know if you wanted to go into any more, but when it comes to details, when it comes to inquiries, let's analyze the word inquiry. All right. Inquiry is somebody's obtaining, right?
Of your credit report.
Exactly. Right. So when you inquire something, all right, you look into it, just like a credit report. I was gonna bring that up, but you basically are looking at the information on whatever you're trying to pull up, right? So an inquiry is basically when somebody's pull your credit report. You do have two different forms of inquiries. You have soft inquiries, then you have hard inquiries, right? So a soft inquiry, for example, if you were to get your credit pulled by Credit Karma, which they do every 7 days if you got it on auto, right? I think they do it automatically anyway. Or if you were to go to My FICO, or if you were to go to Identity IQ or Smart Credit, that's considered a soft inquiry. Or when you go to when you get a credit card in the mail, right? A pre-qualification credit card. They did a soft pull in your credit to send you that pre-approval. They didn't really look at it really hard. They just did like a little overall little dip, you know. But when it comes to a hard inquiry is when somebody literally takes time to physically look deep at your credit report to approve you for credit, right? So with a hard inquiry, that's probably the most common thing people talk about when they hear inquiries. And inquiries aren't bad. They aren't bad for you. If you're there's no way to obtain credit without inquiries. So with that being said, you know, inquiries are not bad. You will get them, and they have a really, really light weight on your credit scores. After 3 months, inquiries really have no weight on your credit scores. So it's really not a big deal until you abuse the inquiries. Like, prime example, if you go out and get 4 inquiries a day today, right? And then you wait another 2 weeks and you get another 3-4 inquiries. And you wait another 2-3 weeks, you get another 2 inquiries, 3-4 inquiries. And you keep doing that bi-weekly. At some point in time, you're going to start getting denied. They call it instant denial, right? And that basically means like you are considered high risk. You look thirsty. We are scared to give you money because you probably going to end up blowing it. You know what I'm saying? Because why are you acquiring so much credit at this particular moment?
Right.
That's scary to me, right?
Right.
So I gave an example to you one time. I was saying if you had somebody come to you and they said they wanted to borrow some money from you, and it was you're the 4th person they done came to. The other 3 people said no, right? Would you say yes?
I don't know.
Why did they say no? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what inquiries are all about.
Right, and just to further elaborate on what you just said, so to summarize it, a soft pull is any time you pull your own credit or you go through pre-qualification with the lender, like pre-qual. Like sometimes you, even when you open up a utility bill and they need to verify your social, sometimes it's for identity purpose. That's soft pull. Hard pull is when someone else pulls your credit for actual approval purposes.
For credit.
Yeah, for credit. So that's the difference. Soft pulls, it doesn't show up on your actual credit report, but it is like on the back end. Nobody really cares about it. But hard pulls is actually what affects your credit score.
100%.
And again, inquiries are only bad if you abuse it. So I always tell people, if you trying to apply for something and after the 2nd or even 3rd attempt, you don't get approved, stop there and fix the problem. Do what you have to do to correct the situation, then go back. Patience is virtual when it comes to finances, because if you're trying to rush or you're trying to force it, you're going to end up in a really, really shitty deal. In long term, you're going to be wasting a lot of money and missing a lot of opportunities because you didn't want to do it the right way.
Exactly.
So anytime you get an inquiry and you don't get approved, legally the creditor is supposed to send you a letter in the mail, letter of denial, explaining to you exactly what bureau they pull from, what scores they acquired, and the reason of denial. Okay, so at that point,
so again, what score they pull,
what bureau
they pull, and the reason they denied you,
and the reason that they denied you. It could be as simple as just lack of credit. You know, simple as that. You just need to build your credit. After, try again in the next few months.
Recent late payments. It can be a multitude of things.
Right. So they would tell you, and then sometimes if they tell you something and you feel like you don't understand it, you could call and ask for further explanation and will gladly tell you. Or you can, even if you feel like it's an incorrect, if you feel like it's incorrect reason why they deny you, you can definitely appeal as well. That's your right you have. So definitely just be mindful, guys, and don't force it. That's the worst thing you can do. I was in a situation where I didn't always have bad credit, and I would get into really bad deals, and the decisions I have made with bad credit still affects me to this day. Years later.
That's credit for you. I mean, a negative account can stay on your credit report for what, 7 years if it's an account, 10 years if it's a bankruptcy, depending on the bankruptcy. So we're talking about a good bit of time.
But I'm just talking
your
about
credit
even
can
the
affect
loans.
you. Yeah, you're right. Even getting a high interest rate loan.
A high interest rate loans.
A lease with bad terms. Right. So yeah.
So yeah, just guys, I'm telling you this because we are always here to teach people how to play the game, not get played. Okay.
100.
So that's it about inquiries. That wraps up the 5 factors of credit. One thing I want to end on this note is that when it comes to the 5 factors of credit, it's algorithm that makes up your credit score, okay, which is off your credit profile. What really, really, really matters is the content that's on your credit profile. Don't get too caught up on a score. Don't have goals and dreams and aspirations. Some people just say, let me tell you, people would be like, people will have a 730 credit score. 730, I want an 850. Why? You're not going to get anything better with that score.
Ain't no difference from a 790 to an 800.
Exactly.
780 to an 800. Ain't no different.
Once you get past that 720 mark, like really, you're in the green there.
You're in the game.
Your scores, again, it's just algorithm. As it meets those algorithms, as you have more history, as you manage your accounts better, you'll be getting higher credit. But what really matters is the content that's on your credit profile.
I agree.
So you really can. I want to end this particular topic by saying that you really cannot have good credit without good financial habits.
100.
Without being financially responsible. There's no way. You can tell yourself all day, I want better credit, I want to get to this credit score. But if your actions don't reflect what you're saying, you'll be in a rat race forever.
I agree.
We have so many people in our program who pays us to fix their credit, right? And we do our job. We get, let's say, ideally, we get everything removed from their credit report, and they can still have a low credit score because they're not paying their bills on time. They're not keeping their credit card utilization low. They're not building their credit. So they haven't changed their financial habits, which is why they're not getting the score that they want to get.
Exactly. So to go ahead and wrap up, 5 factors of credit: payment history, utilization, mix of credit, age of credit, and new credit. Right.
All right. So let's hop into the different scoring models, because I hear people say all the time, why my score different here? I pulled it here and it's different. Is it fake? Is it false? Is it true? What's the right score? What's the real score?
Got you.
So we have 2 different scoring models, right? And Rocky is the scoring model expert. He knows more about the scoring models than I do. I know the difference between FICO and Vantage, where Rocky would say 2.0 is this, 3.0 is this, 5.0. This is FICO 8. This is FICO 6.
All right, so to hop right into it, I'm going to simplify this for y'all as much as I can, but I'm going to also give some details for y'all that want to get detailed, right? So the 2 scoring models that we're going to talk about is FICO and it's Vantage, right? So there's a bunch of scoring models out here. Companies just really make scoring models and then sell reports. So we're not going to talk about all the scoring models. There are multiple scoring models, but the 2 we're focused on is FICO and Vantage, right? So kind of give you a little history, right? Vantage scoring model started out because a FICO scoring model had a gap in it. When I say a gap, there was 40 million Americans, 40 million people that did not have credit scores at all, because the FICO scoring model didn't generate a report for them based off of their factors, right? Their 5 factors, right? So the credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, the big 3, they got together and found that opportunity to create a scoring model, which was Vantage 1.0, or just Vantage. Over time, Vantage 2.0 came, 3.0 came, which is the most used right now, and even Vantage 4.0 came. A lot of people are not using Vantage 4.0. But to kind of give y'all a reason why we're even talking about these 2 different scoring models is because one of them, which is Vantage, is very, very detailed when it comes to their credit report. They break things down into knowing how much money you have ever spent on a credit card, right? Knowing your monthly payment on your credit card, knowing the account number, knowing the date you open the account, right? Knowing what status, knowing if you ever missed payments, what month did you miss payments on, right? So Vantage is very, very, very detailed. But FICO, on the other hand, their scores, right? Their scores are the most used, because the scores that's on Vantage aren't what most lenders are using.
Right.
Most lenders are using FICO, which is about 90% of lenders. That's a head over heels win for FICO. Right. So anytime you want to, this is how I look at it. Anytime I want to apply for something and I want to know where I stand, right? I will contact FICO. Like prime example, if I'm looking at a Wells Fargo rewards card, which is a cash back card, and I call them and say, hey man, what right now, like what bureau do y'all pull? Okay, you gave me the bureau, let's say Experian, for example. Okay, what's the average score range? Like what's usually the requirements? And they tell me, okay, we look for about a 680, you know, no late payments in the past 12 months. Most likely you'll get approved. I can't really give you the limit, right? Okay, cool, sounds good. You can go back to your FICO report, look at your Experian report, and just see if you meet those qualifications.
Do you ever ask what scoring model they use?
No, honestly, because I already know. Okay. When it comes to FICO, right, and it's a good thing you brought that up. When it comes to FICO, they got different scores for different categories. Categories are like
industry specific.
Yes, like auto loans, like mortgages, like personal loans, like credit cards. Did I say that already? Credit cards, personal loans, mortgages, auto. Yes, they got an auto score, a mortgage score, a personal loan score. They call it other, right? That's the category they call it. And then they got credit card. They got a credit card score. So these scores pretty much change depending on what category you're applying for. But most lenders use FICO 8. So they got FICO 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I'm saying? And these different FICO scores is hooked to a certain category. So for y'all that want to get detail, you can go to my FICO and go to their score model page, myfico.com, go to their score model page and break down each score. But for the most part, what you need to know is FICO 8 is the score that's used the most, right? And then Vantage score is what most people use to look up their credit report, right? Credit monitoring. The term credit monitoring, honestly, I didn't even hear that term before I got into the industry. So what I like to say is credit monitoring is credit reporting. So pretty much to monitor your credit or pull your credit report, display your credit scores. That's what credit monitoring is. And most credit monitoring companies use Vantage 3.0.
Sesame Credit, what's it called? Sesame C
Credit
Sesame.
Credit Sesame C Credit Sesame, Credit Karma, Privacy Guard. You know, Privacy Guard and change their score. They might be using Vantage now, but Identity IQ, Smart Credit, myfreescores.com.
When you pull your annual credit report,
that's Vantage as well. Vantage scoring model is hands down the most widely used scoring model when people just pull their credit report.
For consumers, you would say.
Yep.
So to answer the most frequently asked question, there's really no wrong or right credit scoring model, right? So just understand that to get the most realist score that banks are going to get, because again, you can even look at your FICO 8 and the score that they pull might be a little bit different because they got an internal system.
Exactly.
So, but it'll be the closest you'll get to what they got, or it might be on point. Who knows? So there's no wrong or right scoring model, and everywhere you pull your credit is going to be different. So don't get frustrated or don't get caught up in which one to go with. No matter where you pull it from, one thing's for sure is that your credit report will always be the same.
Exactly.
And if it's not, it's just incorrectly reporting. But don't worry, because nobody's going to be using an incorrectly reporting system.
Exactly.
Like Credit Karma. But
Shade.
But just make sure that y'all understand the difference between Vantage and FICO. They're both really good to use. I love both. Honestly, I think my FICO is really, really great because it's extremely educational.
I was about to say the same thing.
Extremely educational. They give you some sort of stimulators that you can use. Smart Credit offers that too. Smart Credit is cheaper if you guys want to go that route instead, if you're just looking to build and dispute.
And whatever you do, right, if you want to pull your FICO scores, go to my FICO. Okay, going to the credit bureaus to pull your FICO score, they're going to tax you because they're basically being a middleman in between my FICO. Right. There's two different companies. The credit bureaus are all three different companies, but my FICO is definitely a completely different company, and they're somewhat competitors because they both have the two most popular scoring models, point blank period. But pull your FICO scores. You can do it for like $34. All three bureaus, from my FICO. They do have like a monthly subscription as well. But if you go to the each independent, like Experian love to sell FICO scores, and they're more expensive. You'll end up paying like $34 for just Experian, when you can get all 3 bureaus for that at my FICO.
I didn't know that. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
So the difference, I want to wrap up the scoring models and tell you guys that the reasons why your scores will be different is because they weigh the factors on your credit profile differently. So we just talked about the 5 factors of credit, right? Now when you go into how to calculate your score, people depending on who you asking, they will weigh the 5 factors of your credit score differently. So what Advantage uses like 40% on payment history.
Yep, they use it. Yep.
And FICO uses 35%.
Yep. Just that little difference right there can make a difference in your scores. Whenever you're calculating the accounts, and just because again, 5% may not seem like much, but if you're talking about 6, 7, 8 accounts. Right. One hell of a difference.
Right. So they just weigh the factors of your credit score differently, and that's why you will have different credit scores. It's not because you have different accounts because they're pulling one thing that you don't see than another. It's just because the 5 factors of credit is weighed differently.
That's simple as that. That's simple.
Simple as that.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So when it comes to what you should be focused on, right? It should be the account, the information is what I will say. The accounts, the inquiries, right? The personal information, because that sometimes that can get mixed up too. We can have a whole conversation on personal information, right? So you really want to focus on the accounts that's on your report,
right?
The accounts,
the content that's on your
the
credit.
Content, how those accounts are reporting. If they're reporting payments reporting late payments that wasn't late. If they're reporting high utilization on credit cards that didn't have high utilization, you really want to focus on that, because when you apply for a credit card, a home, business loan, that's what they're looking at. They're not looking at your scores and saying, "Yep, we can approve them. You approve. Yep."
Because you got a 700.
They're not doing that.
Right.
They're not doing that. People with 700s get denied all the time.
Right.
They're not doing that.
Right. So understanding the basis of credit, okay?
Yeah.
That wraps it up there. So we're gonna shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And y'all be ready for this, because this is going to get pretty interesting, because we're gonna dive deep into our world of credit disputing.
Okay.
The credit disputing process.
Ooh.
Okay. So
you switching it up?
I'm switching it up like that. Let's go into credit repair. All
Let's
right.
do it.
We're gonna give y'all insight of our world and how it works over here. Okay. And for those of you who try to do credit repair yourself, you might hear something like, "Oh, I see why." Or if you've been with another company, you might, that might be the reason why.
Yep.
So stay tuned in this. But before we get into detail about that, I want to give you guys an explanation of how credit repair works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even if you've done credit repair, you may not still know how credit repair works. I have so many clients who's in our program and don't know how credit repair works, even when we explain it to them, because they don't want that to be the reality.
We got people that repair credit. We repair their credit.
Oh yeah.
Credit is deep. It can get really very, very deep.
It gets really deep. So, I like to, whenever I'm explaining something that's unfamiliar to people, I like comparing it to something that's familiar. I like using analogy. I'm queen analogy over here.
100%.
Okay. So I'm going to compare the credit repair disputing process to the court systems. Everybody's familiar with how court works. Okay.
Everybody.
You do a crime, you go to trial, you get a verdict, and then that'll be the end of it, right?
Yep.
So let's do this here. All right. So credit repair is very similar to this. You do a crime, right? Credit repair, the crime you done with credit when you need credit repair is that you've defaulted on your loans. You're delinquent. That's the crime, okay?
That's what you've been charged.
Now you need to either hire an attorney, hire a credit repair company, or you're going to represent yourself.
Exactly.
You're going to do your own credit repair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go before the judge, in this scenario, the judge will be the credit bureaus. We're trying to use the laws to prove that you're innocent when you're in court, or that this account doesn't belong on your credit according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. FCRA. That's the law we use. Okay. Now let's dissect what I just said. One thing for sure, when you guys do a crime, when you have to go to court, your lawyer cannot guarantee you that they will win your case, right?
Nope.
They can't guarantee you, right? So just like with credit repair, no company, if somebody ever guarantee you that they'll get you a results or they'll get you to this score, they are lying. They cannot
100%.
do that. You can't guarantee something to somebody you don't got control over.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing when you go to court. Your lawyer, you hire a lawyer. You might get the best attorney in town. I feel like that's what we are. We're like the best credit repair. We can use all our toolbox. We got a good fighting chance with you. But at the end of the day, we can't guarantee your results.
Exactly.
And then a lot of people want to go the cheap route. What I like to kind of consider the cheap route is you hiring a public attorney. What happens? You hire a public attorney. You don't got a really good chance.
Yeah.
Of getting the case won.
Like what you want, a
Right.
paid attorney, or you want a public attorney?
Same thing when it
Your
comes
choice.
to credit repair. You want to spend a good. You might spend more, but you're getting what you pay for, right?
Exactly.
And then also if you represent yourself, right? Not saying you can never win a case if you represent yourself, but you got to take the time to learn the laws. You have to take the time out to dissect the situation, to present to the judge. It's just a lot that involves it. Same thing if you decide to repair your own credit.
Yes.
Okay, so moving forward, we go to trial, right?
Yep.
And when you go to trial, it doesn't mean that that's your only time going to be presented in front of the judge. You can go to trial multiple times. Some court cases last for 6 months to a year. Hell, sometimes even longer than that. Same thing with credit repair.
Yep.
It's not like the first time you go to take a stab at it, you're going to get the results that you want. You know, when you're going to trial, some cases you win, some cases you lose. Some cases same thing with credit repair. So it's on and on and on disputes that go out, and then over time you would progressively see results.
Yep.
So our clients who had the most success in our programs are the ones who were consistent and the ones who were patient. Period.
Consistency and that is consistency and patience. That's not just a really good characteristic to have for credit repair, but for life.
Yeah. Like if you're trying to, now the analogy I like to say, because that's a long analogy. If you're trying to get your ideal body figure, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm going to eat healthy for a couple days, go to the gym and then go back eating unhealthy. You're not going to, and then you have to be patient and consistent with it to get your ideal body goals. Same thing with credit repair. You can't say, I'm going to give y'all 3-4 months. So I'm going to give 3-4 months. If things don't work out, then forget it.
Yep.
You know, so consistency and patience is key. And our clients who don't get the ideal results is only because they gave up. It's not, we ain't give up on them.
Nope.
We ain't stopped doing what we were supposed to do.
Nope.
They either just gave up or wasn't doing their part. It's as simple as that. It's day and night. It's no secret magic. It's no, we know something that y'all don't know type thing. It's just the process that a lot of people aren't willing to go through.
That simple.
Right. So let's get into credit repair. All right. So one thing I want to tell you guys, that just because you actually owe the debt that's on your credit doesn't mean that it belongs on your credit profile. Okay. So the credit bureaus are here not for you. First of all, y'all don't pay the credit bureaus.
They're not here for nobody.
They're here for financial institutions.
That's
the people
it.
who
You're
pay
right.
them, the people who pull your credit report, banks, lenders, landlords, etc.
Creditors.
Right.
Guarantors.
Right. So it got to the point in history, I don't know the exact date, year. I'm not good with my numbers here. But the Fair Credit Reporting Act was released by Congress to protect the consumers from unfair practices by the credit bureaus, because there was a situation where so many consumers were having incorrect information or even identity theft reporting on their credit report. As we all know, credit is very important.
Yep.
So having these factors involved and people being denied credit was a problem. So the Fair Credit Reporting Act is here to protect the consumers. So when you're doing credit repair, the real credit repair, not saying this is identity theft, I don't owe this, get this off my credit. We're actually finding errors on your credit report. 99.9% of the time, there's errors on a credit report.
The statistics say 80, but I haven't seen a credit report without
where
an
there's
error.
no errors, right?
And just to drop a few if you want, just to drop a few errors that's common on a credit report is when the information across all three bureaus aren't the same. Mm-hmm. There's no way Verizon sent y'all the same report, but y'all got different open dates.
Right.
Y'all have different
balances.
You got different last date of activity. It doesn't make sense, right? Another one that's super common, and if you see this is just a win off gate. If you look at a credit report and you see a collection account that has payment history, right? Or that says last payment.
Right.
It doesn't make sense because you never made a payment with that account.
Right.
Or you point blank, you never made a payment with that account.
Right.
So that's just a few. We definitely gotta. Okay.
I got one. Here's a good one. Y'all might have to throw me some dollars for this one. If you file bankruptcy, okay? If you file bankruptcy and any accounts that were included in your bankruptcy are not supposed to be reporting derogatory on your credit report.
Nope.
Okay, so if you look at your credit report and you say, this collection account was definitely included in my bankruptcy and it says derogatory, it could be up there, but it's supposed to be neutral.
Yeah.
Okay, because once you file bankruptcy, it's like a fresh start.
Exactly.
If it says derogatory or it has late payments or...
so if it says collection...
Yeah, that's affecting your credit score. It's not supposed to say that.
So I'm supposed to say collection, derogatory, delinquent.
None of that.
Nothing of that nature. 60 days late, 90 days late, none of that.
Right.
Okay.
That's illegal. It can't do that. So that's a chance for them to either update it or remove it from your credit report. So it's a lot of errors. So the reason why accounts are legally able to get off your credit report is because the credit bureaus are not abiding by the FCRA, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and accurately reporting these accounts. Okay, so if we come to a point with our client where we aren't able to get accounts removed, it's simple as the account's 100% complete and right. Or
Verified.
sometimes the credit bureaus are just not abiding by the law, and that happens a lot.
Yes.
We have situations where we know this account's not supposed to be on their credit report, and time after time after time they're just not budging or updating or correcting.
Yep.
So at that point, what do we do?
So when it comes to the credit bureaus not responding, the best method to use is going to the CFPB, which is Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. So they protect us, right? So the best thing to do is to file a complaint with them, which is real easy. Go into cfpb.gov. It will be complaint. File a complaint in the top right corner. You file a complaint and pretty much let them know, go through the steps, and let them know that the credit bureaus are not responding, especially if it's been 45, 50, 60 days.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to think about the time. When you do mail out disputes, you do want to consider, the 3-4 day time frame for the letter to get there. So definitely don't be trying to send a FTC complaint day 30, CFPB complaint. And I'll talk about the FTC later on, but file a CFPB complaint on day 30. It don't make sense, right? So, but when you go through that complaint form, they have a section for you to fill out. Just pretty much get real detail about when you set your letter out, what was the concern about the accounts that you talk about, like why are you even disputing them, right? And just tell them they haven't gotten a response back, and this is unfair because and I would honestly bring some personality to it, some pain to it. Like a lot of us, our credit is a big part for us. We can't get approved for things like apartments. We can't get approved for things that we really need, like a home for our family.
Right.
So speak about that. Like, hey, this thing is causing me a major problem right now because I'm in the process of getting me a home.
Right.
And I can't.
Right.
So with that being said, that's how you want to go about that with the CFPB.
Right, exactly. Or even if simple as, like, I know a lot of people might have an eviction on their credit report, and they sometimes when you're trying to get a new lease, you don't have to necessarily get that eviction removed from your credit or past due payments. You just have to pay it, and a lot of times by that time is with the debt collecting company, and you may have paid them, but they didn't update your credit report. So, and you tell the credit bureaus that you've paid them and you need this updated to get approved, and they don't respond, a good opportunity would be going to the CFPB, explaining the situation to get it updated. And a lot of times when the CFPB gets involved, the credit bureaus will do what they have to do, because the CFPB is who governs the credit bureaus.
Exactly. That's who look over the credit bureaus and tell them, hey, you're not doing this right, and if you don't fix it, it's going to be a problem. And when they say be a problem, I'm not quite sure what they do, but I know it is not a good thing. I know consumers have sued the credit bureaus a few times.
Definitely.
Because
a lot of times,
a whole lot of times. Some of the most popular cases, people made millions. That's why they're popular. But They're small class action lawsuits
Right.
against the credit bureaus all the time. If I had something not reported on my credit report correctly and the credit bureau didn't respond, you know how happy I'll be? You just pay me.
Free money.
You basically
that's
just pay me.
That's the power of knowing and knowledge and knowing your rights. Like, we have rights. I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to credit repair, are guilty of going delinquent on their accounts, so they don't really go hard for getting it removed or updated or actually pay back debt collectors. And the truth of reality is, it don't work like that. Like, if you know your laws, if you know your rights, you know when and when not to make these payments, or when to do these certain actions to protect yourself.
Exactly.
So it's all about knowledge, kids.
All about it. That's what it's all about. The more you know, the more you grow.
Exactly. The more you learn, the more you earn.
Yep.
What else you got?
Education before compensation.
Oh shit, I'm out. All right, so wrapping up the disputing process. For those of you who need to go through credit repair, we actually have a do-it-yourself credit repair guide, where that includes the everything that needs to be removed from your credit: collections, charge-off, repossessions, bankruptcies, the whole 9 yards, late payments. We even got a goodwill letter in there, and also popular emails for CEOs,
which can help you remove late payments.
And also we got debt collection letters up there as well. So if you're getting harassed by debt collectors, you can use some of that as well. Right now it's on sale for $47. $47. So take advantage of that if you want to. But if you don't want to go through the hassle of repairing your own credit, and I don't blame you, you can always click the link in our bio or go to www.adrfinancialgroup.com to schedule a consultation to see how we can definitely help you out. Two things I want to mention before we get off this topic. One, when you're trying to accomplish anything in life, right? There's two things you need to do. There's two things you're going to have to do. One or the other. Either invest your time or invest your money. I always like to say that. Sometimes you got to do a little bit of both, but you have the opportunity to choose which one you want to leverage, right?
Exactly.
So if you're going to do your credit yourself, by all means, I'm all for do-it-yourselfers, okay? But you need to realize that the time you have to invest in doing it yourself is pretty hefty. You have to be on top of it. You have to be consistent to get the results. If you don't have the time for that, invest your money.
That's it.
Period.
That's
okay?
how, you know what's crazy? And I'm not going to drag this on too much long because we're going to wrap this one up. But when it comes to everything in life, even as an entrepreneur, you got to look at things. You got to say, okay, cool. Am I going to do this and is this worth me spending my time on doing?
Right.
Or is it worth me spending my money, me delegating this so I can focus on something else? Exactly.
Because you can always get your money back, you heard? You can never get your time back. Yesterday is gone, boo.
Yep.
Can't do shit about it.
Nothing you can do about it. Yep.
Nothing you can do about it. I want to say one more thing, though. If you're going to actually go through credit repair, last thing I'm going to say about credit repair, okay? Because I need y'all to really, really, really put this in your mental and really believe it in your spirit. Okay, because I've seen so many people waste their time and money because they're not ready for credit repair.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, how you not ready to better your credit? People aren't ready for credit repair. And
financially,
I mean this by
mentally.
Because you have to change your financial habits. If you're not going to say, okay, I'm going to do credit repair. Moving forward, I'm going to make sure I don't get in too much debt. Moving forward, I'm going to make sure I manage my finances properly. Moving forward, I'm going to make sure I make payments on time. Keep my credit cards low. If you're not actually going to perform those actions, don't do credit repair. You're going to be wasting your time and your money. Yep. I promise you that. You have to change your financial habits first in order to reflect the good credit that you desire.
Exactly. And that's two things people don't like wasting: their time and their money. Okay? So definitely don't be the one to do that. What I want to say before we hop out.
Hop out. We got one more thing to discuss. I want to just talk about building credit really quick.
Okay.
Really quick. Let's just give them a sneak peek on building credit.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay.
We can do that.
Trying to dip off. No, what you was about to say?
Because when you introduced us, I wanted you to give them our actual Instagram names, right? Our Instagram handles.
Let's save that to the end.
Okay.
All right. So the last part of this session about mastering your credit, I want to tell you guys about how to actually build your credit. I have a lot of people who hit us up and say, how do I build my credit? I don't have no credit, or I keep getting denied. What's the next step? Or some people just don't know when to actually apply for new credit.
Yep.
So first thing is, when you're building your credit, There's certain accounts that you can apply for that's guaranteed approval, and I got a list right here of our most recommended accounts that we use.
Yeah.
So let's start off with, first on my list is Self-Lender.
We can go back and forth.
Okay.
You do self, I do something else. Go ahead.
Self-Lender is a really good account. It's like a build and save account. So you can get started with Self-Lender, I think as low as $15 a month. And they will report $1,000 installment account on your credit report. Don't quote me on this, y'all. I didn't check the 500. Okay. Don't quote me on this. I know it's a installment account. They're going to report a loan. I know you could get started for dumb cheap. And at the end of the term, let's say you stay with them for like a year. You're building your credit and saving your money at the same time. You cannot freaking beat that.
You can't.
So your money's not really going to waste. I mean, you will get some fees for finance charges and stuff.
Interest.
Yeah, interest. But if you do it for a year, at the end of the term, you can take your money out, okay, and get your money back, and you built your credit at the same damn time. Better, nothing beats that. One thing I want to mention about Self-Lender, well, they changed their name to Self. I gotta get used to that. Self. You have the option to convert over to a secured credit card after you're enrolled with them for like a month or two, maybe. I don't recommend you do that option because you'll have to close the other account. Well, you have the option to keep both open.
You can do hybrid, or you'll close the other account and open the credit card account, secure credit card account.
I don't recommend doing that because, one, why pay for two accounts, and two, I would just start it off like as a installment and keep it rolling. I don't recommend. The point of what makes an account good, y'all, is good payment history. So just because you open an account don't mean, okay, I'm good, and 3 months later down the line I'm gonna close it, hop on what's next. Negative. Okay, you want to keep an account open for at least 6 months minimum. But the longer the better. The longer the better. Then we got Credit Strong.
I'll speak about Credit Strong. So Credit Strong is very, very, very similar to Self, which was Self-Lender. They pretty much have a CD account, right? A savings account. To make a long story short, they put your money in every time you make a payment. And then at the end of your agreement, which you can control your agreement, whether you want to do 12 or 24 months or even more than that. Because if I'm not mistaken, Self only goes up to 24 months. But with Credit Strong, they have programs over there for 36 months, for 96 months. Their programs are literally Self-Lender, but a bigger tier. If you want to go that level. So if you're trying to get, I think they used to have a $20,000 option to report a $20,000 installment account.
And that's good if you're trying to get like a business loan.
Exactly. But now I think they dropped it down to 18, which is still a beautiful thing.
Still good.
Yeah, it's still a really good thing. But Credit Strong, like I said, very, very, very similar. We will be dropping a link to all of these particular credit building programs down below the video, right? So with that being said, again, installment wise, Self-Lender, Credit Strong. Next, we're gonna hop over to revolving accounts, right?
Yeah, revolving accounts. I'm gonna put these three in the same category because they're really all the same concept. I don't want to break it all down. So we got New Coast Direct. Really good. Finger Hut. Good. Shop Simplio. They're good. What it is about these accounts, the downside is that all three of them are store cards. They don't report to your credit as store cards. They report to your credit as unsecured accounts. But in order to get these accounts, you have to typically pay an annual fee and purchase their products and finance their products. A lot of times their products are overpriced. A lot of times their products are shitty. I know, I hear this all the time. Clients telling me, "Oh, Lex, I don't see anything I like." Girl, if you don't just buy this shit and pay it off so we can build up your credit and stop freaking playing, you are investing into your credit. I know it's like junk. It's like junk.
Well,
you're throwing your money away.
All of it is not junk. I done been on a few of their websites. I mean, they got Apple products.
Yeah, but I'm
so
saying
all of their stuff
if you don't like it, if you go out there and you don't like anything, get out your mental that you're purchasing a product and get in your mental that you're investing into your credit. Okay, so
great way to put it.
Even like we gotta throw junk money all the time. Even as a business owner, when it comes to taxes, we have to sometimes throw away junk money to get a big tax break. It's just the way of life. It's just the way to maneuver. But the good thing about these accounts, the good thing about these accounts is that they report a high limit credit. High limit they report high limit credit.
Yeah. High limit credit cards. High limit
credit
revolving accounts.
Revolving accounts, $5,000. So I recommend this over secured credit cards because think about it. You start off with a secure credit card. You get what you put down. So that's like $300 versus you getting a $5,000 unsecured line of credit reported to your credit report. What do you think weighs a little bit more on your credit profile?
100%.
The unsecured credit card. For those of you who don't know the difference, secured is when you finance your own money, and unsecured is when the banks give you money.
I'm gonna break it down a little more simple. I trust you. I don't trust you.
Right.
That's basically what unsecured and secured is.
Right. So some people say, well, can I just do a secure credit card instead? I was like, sure, if you want to go slow and steady turtle, but I'm trying to get to the top really fast. And if that's what you want to do too, then you need to throw away this junk money real quick.
Exactly.
And just get these high limit accounts reported to your credit report. Finance it for 6 months, and then you can upgrade into an unsecured line of credit or a credit card around that same. If you have $5,000 reported on your credit and you've been managing good, and you go apply somewhere else, they're not gonna play with no $300 credit card.
Exactly.
Come on now. But if you start off with a $300 credit card, like a secure card, and you try to apply for a new credit, you're gonna get $500, maybe even $1,000. You gotta slowly work your way up. So that's the benefit of these store cards that we recommend over secure credit card.
And they already put you in a tier that's pretty high. You gotta understand, again, if you had a $5,000 secure credit card, which most people won't do,
right?
What do you think a $5,000 unsecured credit card will look like on your credit report? It's like that step up,
right,
that everybody needs, that stepping stool we need to shine a little bit to get what we want to get. Because again, like you said, if a lender pulls your credit report and they see a $5,000 account on your credit report already, they want to win your business. They want you to use them.
Right.
So,
especially if you're good payments.
Especially if you got good payments. So it's like, hey, if they gave you $5,000, I'm gonna give you $7,000. I'm gonna give you $8,000. I'm gonna see how you go about doing this, right? So they're trying to win your business over, and that's how you do it. You use those building blocks, and after you get your account, after you get the accounts you want, then you can migrate off of the credit building programs. Right. Again, these are stepping stool accounts. These accounts you need to step on top of to reach another goal. And then once you grab that goal, you don't have to use a stepping stool anymore.
Right, exactly. And lastly, I want to touch on secure credit cards. So here's the thing about secure credit cards. I have a love-hate relationship with secure credit cards because they cool. I mean, you can build your credit with it. But a lot of people don't use secure credit cards properly. So one thing I want to say is that if you are going to get a secure credit card, go to your local credit union that you already have a relationship with. If you don't have a relationship with yet, build a relationship. Make sure that you can graduate to unsecured after a certain period of time. The worst thing you can do is build credit with a card you cannot graduate with. Okay.
100%.
So graduate to unsecured. That's how your money's going to go the best way possible. And then also, I would say put down at least $500. The more, the better though. Okay. Yeah. And if you are going to put down $200, I guess, make sure that you are living by your statement date, okay? Because it's so quick and easy to get high utilization off these secure credit cards. Somebody put down $300, 30% of that's $90, so you really don't want to spend more than $50. But if you live off of your statement date,
pair of shoes.
If you live off your kids' pair of shoes,
so it's
live off your statement date if you're going to do these secure credit cards, and make sure you do that because it's so easy to get a high credit card debt with these secure cards.
Yep. And I think that about wraps it up for the golden mentality with Rocky and Lex. So this is episode 2.
Are you counting?
Yeah, I'm counting.
The camera just rolling to me. The camera just rolling. But let me know what y'all think about this podcast. Please comment below what y'all would like us to talk about next. We're definitely open to ideas. We are here for y'all. We can sit up here all day and talk about a lot of ish, but we want to make sure that we are listening to what y'all want us to talk about and providing that.
Exactly.
And you can follow us
at Rocky the Wit on Instagram and Twitter and on TikTok.
Okay, you can follow me at Lexus CEO on Instagram, and then I'm Lex the CEO on TikTok and Twitter. So we'll be back with another episode. I think let's talk about debt next time. Let's talk about debt.
No, let's talk about business, because this podcast is about business, relationship, finance. Nah, we can talk about we touching on credit. Cool. Next, business.
All right. Well, let's see what they say first.
Yeah, business. All right, this is a topic. Business or home ownership.
What about debt collection?
Or debt collection. Business, home ownership, or debt collection. Comment below and we go whatever you say. How about that?
All right. We'll see y'all on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Let's get it.